It's time for This Week in WordPress, episode number 298, entitled It's a Long 'Un. It was recorded on Monday, the 3rd of June, 2024. My name's Nathan Wrigley, and today I'm joined by three guests. I'm joined by Courtney Robertson, by Taco Verdenschot, and by Tammy Lister. Well, it's a WordPress podcast, so guess what? We talk about WordPress, among other things. We talk about Playground and how it's revolutionizing the way that it's possible to launch WordPress websites. It really is very profound. We spend a lot of time talking about events, WordCamp Europe in particular. A quick discussion about the Media Corp. What does that mean? Who's involved? How is it going to be assessed? Courtney shares her screen and tells us all about the cogs going on in the background to make the WordPress project more sustainable. There's a new course for absolute beginners to WordPress, a new newsletter from Michelle Frechette. We've also got a variety of other pieces about AI, sustainability, the environment, and a whole bunch more. And it's all coming up next on This Week in WordPress. This episode of the WP Builds podcast is brought to you by GoDaddy Pro, the home of managed WordPress hosting that includes free domain, SSL, and 24/7 support. Bundle that with the Hub by GoDaddy Pro to unlock more free benefits to manage multiple sites in one place, invoice clients, and get 30% off new purchases. Find out more at go.me/WP Builds. And by Bluehost. Redefine your web hosting experience with Bluehost Cloud. Managed WordPress hosting that comes with lightning-fast websites, 100% network uptime, and 24/7 priority support. With Bluehost Cloud, the possibilities are out of this world. Experience it today at bluehost.com/cloud. Hello. It is This Week in WordPress, episode number 298. I had a couple of weeks off because I did a summit and then I went to a wedding. And so I had a bit of time off, but I'm really glad to be back 1 week before WordCamp Europe. So I'll quickly announce that right now. We're not doing a show next week because I hopefully at that point will be on an aeroplane, and that would be quite challenging, wouldn't it?
Well, I have done a webinar on an airplane, so it's not impossible.
Okay.
It's reliable.
I'm not doing it. But that was Taco. That's Taco Verdenschot. How are you doing, Taco?
All good here.
Yeah, good. Nice to have you with us again. Taco's coming to us from Yoast. Let's read out his bio. So Taco Verdenschot started as a developer at Yoast, but quickly realized he preferred talking to people over coding. Now, as the head of relations, he spends his days managing Yoast customer support team, attending and organizing community events. He has a family life and likes to do a bit of volunteer work with the finesse as with the finesse as a circus performer. I'm coming back to this. I'll just finish it off. Known for his blunt Dutch honesty, he's a guy who can tell you your SEO needs, work, and still leave you smiling. We'll be talking about SEO later. But go back. What the heck? What's that? What's the circus thing? What do you do?
Well, no strange circus acts from me. Although one of my hobbies is motor trials, which is kind of ballet on a motorcycle. So, little bit.
I'm on video. Well, that's great.
Can do.
Wonderful. The variety of things that people get up to. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, there's some really interesting news kind of out of Google this week, which we'll get to at the end of the show. It's accidental news as well, and Google, I don't think, has made a mistake like this one before. So stay tuned for that. But we're also joined by Courtney.
Good day.
Courtney
Hello.
Robertson, how are you doing?
I am recovering from WordCamp Montclair this weekend. I have this nice little Montclair coffee mug at my side.
Nice.
Hopefully does not ever run out of coffee.
Oh,
That would be magical.
that really would be.
It was
Quite
a fantastic camp. I had so much fun there this weekend.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. We'll be talking a little bit about WordCamps in general, but also about WordCamp Europe specifically, because that's coming up next week. But here we go. Courtney's bio. It's quite a long one, but I'm going to do it at like double speed. Here we go.
By all means, cut some of it out. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Courtney Robertson is in the open source community. So that was the first 2 words in the last 3. How does...
We're done.
No.
We're done.
Let me paraphrase. Courtney is an accomplished open source developer advocate at GoDaddy, dedicated WordPress training team faculty member, co-founding board member of the WP Community Collective. She engages with audiences with her relatable insights on getting involved and supporting contributors in the open source community. Staying true to her roots as a professional educator, Courtney seamlessly merges her teaching expertise with her passion for technology, both on and off the stage. And we will find out more about that a little bit later as well. There's loads more to say, but I will expurgate it at that point. But thank you for joining us, Courtney. Really appreciate it. And last, but by no means least, is Tammy Lister. How are you, Tammy?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, great. So I can do your one because yours is a suitable size. Here we go. Tammy is a product creator who not only creates new products, but also supports those looking to navigate the evolving space that is WordPress. She's a core committer. Thank you for that. Currently sponsored to focus on the default theme task force. When not working fractionally with product, she works within Gutenberg, focusing on the distribution problem. Recharging comes from art, painting, and creating in her studio space. And we'll make a little bit of space, see what I did there, later on to talk about a website that you've got up. We did actually mention it a few weeks ago, but my intuitions around it were not all that clear. So I think better to redo it than have the butchered version from a couple of weeks ago. But there's our panel. We're going to talk about the WordPress news, but before we do that, a few boring bits of housekeeping. Depending on where you're watching it, if you're at wpbuilds.com/live, you've got a couple of options. You can either use the group chat thing on the right-hand side, but you need to be logged into a Google account because it's YouTube comments. Alternatively, if you don't want to be logged into anything, there's a little black box at the top right-hand side of the video. It just says live chat. And if you click that, that's just related to the player that we're using. And so you just need to type your name in. You don't need to be logged into anything. And hopefully the comments will come onto the screen. But yeah, I think that's about it. The other thing I would ask, if you watch this and you enjoy it, please take a minute now, go onto something like Twitter or X or whatever it may be, and just share it, wpbuilds.com/live. The more conversation, the more entertaining this whole thing becomes. By the way, in some fun news this week, I was at this wedding, right? No computer in sight, came back, my Facebook account was suspended for no reason at all. And so I went through the usual process, and about 48 hours later, they said, yeah, that was an error. So they reinstated it. However, it did make me think, as I often do, that we really do get ourselves into these silos, don't we? And things like Facebook are a pretty big silo, and a lot of what I do ends up out there. So it's really given me the heebie-jeebies about whether or not Facebook is the right place for me. I think Mastodon is where my heart lies, in all honesty, these days. But anyway, there you go. That's apropos of nothing. We have been joined by Cameron. Thank you, Cameron. He says, Cameron's in Australia. Good evening from a chilly Victoria Harbour in Australia, where the temperature is barely above freezing. The only day of the year, Tammy, where we can say that in the UK it's warmer than it is in Australia. Yay! It is sunny, though, in Germany, says Birgit. Hi there, Birgit. Nice to see you. And Peter always brings us the full weather report, which is exactly what we want, from Connecticut. Says, good morning. It is 22 degrees centigrade, 72 degrees Fahrenheit, heading up to 30. Oh, that's hot. 32 degrees centigrade under partly sunny skies. Really appreciate that. As every week, Peter, it makes my day. Marcus Burnett joining us. He's also tuning in after a fun weekend, I should say, at WordCamp Montclair. Saw pictures of Courtney with Marcus representing the GoDaddy crew. Happy to see all the wonderful faces this morning. And I don't think I'm going to read that one.
No, that's a spam comment.
It's probably from Twitch, where all the spam comments come from. Twitch, sort it out is all I'm going to say. Okay, we'll leave that spam comment for now. Alrighty, what have we got for you this week? Let us share the screen. Firstly, this is us, WP Builds. If you fancy subscribing to what we do, stick your email in that little box there, and we will update you twice a week. Once when this show is finally produced, we'll wrap it up today. I'll, make it a bit nicer with the audio and things like that, and then put it out tomorrow morning as a podcast. And then we do a Thursday podcast, which will notify you about as well. But that's basically it. But you can see that we are sponsored by both GoDaddy Pro. Thank you to GoDaddy Pro for, I think we're in the 3rd year now of sponsorship, and honestly, it's remarkable. So thank you to GoDaddy for that, and Bluehost as well. They've joined us fairly recently, and I would like to make a big shout out to them. Also, and Taco's got all the grins going there because there's a thing there, isn't there? Bluehost.
Well,
Yoast.
we're family.
It's all family.
We're family.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm really pleased that you guys have come on board. That really does help keep this show going. Okay, we've got something happening later this week. I'm chatting live. I'm doing a live webinar with this fine chap. He's called Alex Standiford, and he's also at GoDaddy, right? Alex?
He is, yes. He works in the managed WooCommerce division, doing all the WordPress things that are related to the WooCommerce offerings.
Well, this is like a side gig of his, so it's nothing to do with that. He's come up with a plugin called Siren Affiliates. And I've seen him around. He's definitely putting the work in trying to promote it. He's been on lots of different podcasts and YouTube channels and things like that. But he's come to me, and we're going to do a walkthrough of what his new plugin does. All I'll say is, if you've got an intuition that you've seen what an affiliate plugin can do, really don't imagine that that's what he's built, because it does look like it does a boatload of interesting new stuff. So he's going to explain that to us. It's at 3 p.m. on the 5th of June. So come and join us for that. Right. I am not going to launch it because it will kill my machine, probably. Not that that's what it's designed to do, but I just wanted to point out that I did a podcast episode over on The Tavern. The Tavern is still alive, by the way. It's just,
it's just you. We need to get you on this page.
Do you know, it occurred to me, right? Yeah, that would be an interesting idea, wouldn't it? If my podcasts were kind of there.
On the front page, yeah.
Yeah, because I think now we're into week 12. Woo, week 12.
Maybe just alter the logo and make it say WP Tavern by WP Builds.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't have the permission to do that. But
Matt, if you're listening, this
please,
is for you.
Please, Matt, that would be lovely. Adam Zielinski is a Polish developer who a little while ago, I'm going to say like about 18 months or something like that, came up with this remarkable idea when he was playing around making, I think it was courses, he said, and he wanted a seamless way to allow people to just drop into what he was hoping to teach people. And so he put his thinking cap on, and he knew about things like WebAssembly, and he thought, can I make WordPress work in the browser? And I think his initial thought was, this will be interesting. 2 weeks later, he's cracked it. And now he is a full-time, he's full-time. He's an automatician, and he's been put full-time on this project. Man alive, if you've never used this, it is voodoo. You click a button and you have a WordPress website in your browser. But that's so exciting. But what he has got planned for this is just amazing. He's got this blueprints idea where anybody can drop in an entire website, a complete website, including plugins, themes, content, and you'll be able to click a button anywhere on the web and just get that website going in your own browser. He's going to make it persistent so that it doesn't die when you kill the browser. It'll be there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then there's all the export options to take it up to your hosting provider of choice, play it, keep it persistent, and then finally when you're ready to ship it. Anyway, I don't know if any of the three of you have played with this, but I genuinely think it's voodoo. I don't know what's going on, but it's absolutely magic.
Playground is if you have recently seen, Automatic launched a way to have a local-ish version of your site, I'll say.
Studio.
So yes, it is under Studio. It is also currently in testing for accessibility. There is a plugin that you can enable part of Playground to show, and it's in accessibility testing currently, so that snippets on Learn's website, you can play with the code live and see what it does. And that might also roll itself into Docs and the dev blog areas as well. So that you can kind of live code WordPress along with what you're learning. And then there it is. You could quickly see what you've just learned. And
I think when he built it, he showed it to he said this as much. He showed it to a few of his colleagues, and they were a bit like, Okay, that looks fun. And then I think the penny dropped with quite a few people, including Matt, I believe, at State of the Word may have even mentioned it. I think he did,
Mhm.
Matt Mullenweg. And I just think it's profoundly interesting what we're going to be able to do on things like, just like mobile. You'll be able to
Yeah.
just spin up a little temporary website on your,
Yeah.
I don't
And
know, maybe
it's one of
like a
the
note-taking app or
yeah,
something.
and it's one of those problems that a lot of local setups require setup to be able to do. Like anytime you're doing it, like the documentation is massive. Contribution days is a big example. Like half of a contribution day is generally people setting up on a contribution day, or over half, right? And that's not being like aggressively flippant or anything. That is literally what happens. The problem. So being able to have these easy spin ups, testing PRs, all these kind of options instantly lowers the barrier of entry to contribution. Therefore, enables more people to get the skills of contribution to then get the skills of creation. And that's what really interests me with this is it opens up the kind of access to coding, access to design, access to being able to create themes and do things more, to be able to then make things more. So it's just really exciting to be able to do. And the more tools that we have that get people creating faster, the better.
You
I'm
reminded me
yeah.
of two things, Tammy. You mentioned
Yeah.
pull requests in there.
Mhm.
It's replaced what's on Gutenberg.run. So if folks have been familiar with Gutenberg.run in the past, you enter a PR number and off you are to an environment that now is being powered by the playground. The other part is that when you see the release posts start trickling out for 6.6, I've worked with Adam on creating a custom link that will already have dummy content. So the theme unit test data will be preloaded, as well as a couple of dev plugins that are in there, but deactivated at the time because you don't need to run WP debug, but you might want to turn it on soon. So there are some customizations that can be done with Playground too, to enable when we have release testing going on to get that part of, you want some content if you're going to test the query block and not have to make 6 posts to do that. So we have a version available for you that would already have.
And that's also been the problem, like test a release, but also you've got to have a massive setup to be able to test a release. So even the like onboarding to be able to be a tester is like massive. And that's like should be how you start to learn. So yeah, it's super exciting. And just wouldn't have been possible before technology enabled it to be possible. It just happened that technology enabled this to be possible as well. So that's also something that happened that technology had opened up to be able to make this possible. And it's someone capitalizing on modern technology. And so modern technology empowering is also super exciting.
It really is exciting. And honestly, the profundity of it is not to be underestimated. I have a tiny inclination of what it might be possible to do, but the things that were coming out of Adam Zelensky's mouth, I was really like, whoa, really? That?
And it gets more because the technology then will get more capacity as well.
Yep. And the devices will get stronger, the browser support will get better. And so go and listen to that episode because you'll get an intuition as to what is going on. But also Taco just helpfully found a talk that was given by Alex Kurt related to this at WordCamp Asia a few months ago. Did you see this one? Was there something you wanted to say, or shall I?
I was his MC, so I was in the room. But one of the problems that we've always had in translating WordPress is that you do the translations on a page that will give you no context about the use of the sentence or the words that you have to translate. There's some annotation by a developer if they took the time to actually put that in, but that's about it. What is available now is that you can do translations live through the playground so that you can see in context, this is the WordPress admin and this is how the sentence should be translated. And what that also gives you is that you can see, hey, if I have this Dutch translation for an English sentence, it's much longer and it no longer fits the box. So I need to adjust so that it works in this layout. And that is absolutely magic and super valuable for translators all across the world.
So I will link to that in the show notes. Anything that we discussed today will come out in the newsletter that I put together. It won't come out in the order that we're talking about it, but it'll be embedded in there somewhere. So I'll try to include that one as well. But thank you for that, Taco. Yeah, so just one quick recap. Again, that was on the Tavern. If you go to wptavern.com/podcast, you can see them all. And this is episode number 122. There was something on the tip of my tongue that I wanted to mention, and it's completely gone out of my mind. And so if it comes back at some point, then I will try to remember it and mention it. Also, if you want to play with Playground right now, go and do it. WordPress.org/playground. Click this blue button, which I am not going to click because it'll end our show probably, because it's all happening in the browser. And Adam explains exactly how all that works. And it's basically dead clever. Okay, so let's move on from Playground. Go have a play. Right, so this is WordCamp Europe. We got 3 or 4 stories related to this. It's coming around. We said, I think, quick hand raise of the 4 of us. Who's going?
Yep.
All 4. Look at that. That's good. That'll be nice. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things because I haven't done this show for a couple of weeks. There's a few that are a little bit stale, but nevertheless, there's a wellness track, which I don't really know what is going to be on the wellness track other than just reading it out here. It just says, for the 3rd year in a row, the community team has organized activities in the wellness track during both days of the conference. That's 14th to the 15th. The wellness track will offer beginner level yoga lessons and guided walking tours of Torino. I think the tours are like an hour long, something like that. So nothing majorly taxing. And the yoga lessons, I'm not sure whether you need to sign up for them or you can just show up, but it's quite nice. That's a nice thing to offer. The after party theme is also announced, and I'm going to hand this one over to Taco because you had something about this, didn't you? Here we go.
Well, yes. Yeah. So I think it became a tradition when we first did a theme for the after party in Vienna back in long time ago, 2016.
Oh, yeah.
What a pre-pandemic is a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before times.
Yeah, and so and it has been a thing ever since. This for WordCamp Europe, they're announcing it rather late, so that makes it challenging. But the idea is that you dress up in the theme, and we've had some pictures, Nathan, in the past where we're doing this really well.
God, show it because it's so good. It's on my wall. It's always on my wall. There's Taco dressed in like some sort of, I don't know, French Revolution style outfit, and there's some ugly English chap.
Yeah,
Tice was winning the cake for an ensemble. I think at Asia he came in his cultural attire, which included lots of windmills and tulips all over a bit of a farce, I think, for clothing. I'm not sure. I hope I'm not insulting the culture there. But I didn't see anyone else from the Netherlands ever dressed like Tice was dressed. So
no one ever would. Yeah. But it's a fun thing. It's a gimmicky thing. And I think that it's fun to be part of it. Seeing the theme, though, there's a lot of Italian movies, because the idea is now that you dress up in Italian movie style. But there's a lot of them that are less suitable for family-friendly events. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So please, everyone, if you're dressing up, make sure that it's appropriate for a family-friendly event.
Yeah, caveat emptor. Watch. Basically, if it's got a U rating or whatever the equivalent is, you know, you're probably okay. Anything else?
Your costume still has a code of conduct applied to it.
The lack of a costume. Do you know what, though? When I read this article, I literally thought that they'd like open source this theme, the WordPress theme. I know that's ridiculous, but the first intuition was open source that theme. It's the WordCamp 2024 Europe theme. But anyway, there we go. Thank you for that. Right. What else did we want to say?
There's a question from Cameron that's quite related there about the venue. And last year, the venue was at a club owned by Lindsay Lohan, and there was quite an overflow of traffic. This time around, Cameron, what I saw is that it is at the venue. So that should afford more space, as well as Tammy pointed out, some quiet spaces too.
Well, I think they said there would be no official quiet spaces, but I think there's also worth noting that there are hotels adjacent to it. So I think that if you were either staying at the hotel or people who are in the hotels, I do strongly imagine that the hotels are going to be some of the quieter spaces.
Oh, okay.
So some of the hotel foyers may be places for people to go with headphones. If you need-
Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Just a couple of quick ones. I'll drop them in whilst I've got the comments in my head. So Tor is I'm sorry, Tor. I'm going to do Torbjorn Fellner. Ish.
Lots of now.
Okay, that'll do. Good afternoon from Barcelona. I have tuned in via LinkedIn, but the comments there seem to stay there. Yeah, apologies. LinkedIn do not allow this platform to exchange the comments, which is why I always drone on about going to wpbuilds.com/live, because some platforms allow it. Facebook had just turned them all off about 3 weeks ago, just said, no more API for you. And James is joining us. He says, good morning. And going back to the translation thing, translation is actually new territory that I'm trying to tackle, specifically underserved Chinese communities to start, looking to leverage WPML or Weglot. Okay, thank you for that. And
Can I give James a little piece of advice when he's looking into translation plugins? There's quite a few more. And personally, I'm a really big fan of some of the other ones, but I'm not sure because they're not sponsors if we're allowed to.
You can say whatever you like. Yeah.
Okay, so Side is building a translation plugin that's built on multi-site, and that typically works a lot better. Multilingual Press is its name.
Multilingual Press. Actually, Taco, if you drop the link into the show notes, I'll add it. Into the private chat. I'll add it in when I put it into the show notes so that anybody reading it can grab a hold of that. Multilingual Press. I'm sure you can Google that to your heart's content now. Okay, so still on WordCamp Europe. If you are going to be showing up the additional day, so this is on the, let me get this right, the Thursday?
Thursday.
So Thursday, and then the Friday, Saturday is the main event, if you like. But the contributor day is going on the Thursday. And if you've never been to one before, this article just spells out what's going on, how you can be involved, what you can do. And basically, if you've never been to one and you're thinking it's a bunch of coders, it's going to be weird because I don't do code, just step away from that thought. There's 101 different things that you could do. I actually last time in Asia, I just approved photographs in the photo directory, which I've never done before. I thought that was quite fun. So there's a whole gamut of different things that you can do. And this article will help you orientate yourself, how you can prepare for it.
This one is specific to the training team.
You're right. Yeah.
Different teams will have different types of things going on. If you are a totally new first-time attendee, I'd recommend that you visit make.wordpress.org. At the top, there is a link in a yellow box to the survey that will help you decide what team based on your interests and skills. And then each of those teams may have a similar post like this about what they are doing during Contributor Day.
Thank you, Courtney.
I wanted to add something, that the theme section this time isn't just theme reviews. So there's lots of different things you can do even in the theme section. So just exploring all the different things is one of the good benefits of contribution days as well. And a good point to say is you don't have to stay on one section. You can even move, like you could go the first part of the morning in one, the second part of the morning in another, like every coffee break, you could go to a different section and you could just explore the whole entire world of contribution and just learn what you like.
It's basically a giant room with loads of tables, and you just go and plonk yourself on whatever table you like, and it's
buffet
really
of contribution.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm going to shamelessly put this out there. I am organizing Contributor Day for WordCamp US. I am leading that initiative inside of WordCamp US. So shamelessly, I'm also going to be looking at benefiting from the many ways that Europe has organized their Contributor Day to provide that feedback and consider options as well for the US version of this.
Nice. Happening in Portland later this year.
I think there's one important thing that we should mention, and that is that Contributor Day requires a separate ticket.
Oh.
So it doesn't work on your regular WordCamp Europe ticket. And unfortunately, it's already sold out. So if you are not registered for Contributor Day, maybe there might be some spots available on Twitter where people gave up theirs. But for the most part, it's 700 seats and they're all filled.
Just a question about that, because I don't really know what the intuition around that is. Is it health and safety, fire regulations, and food? It's
Practicality.
right.
You
Right.
cannot it's almost one-on-one training. You cannot give that to people. In just like if you need to know who's going to be. That's why you ask on who's going to do the tables, who's going to do it. So some sections, maybe who have more popular are going to need to scale up, having
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
collaborate,
Yeah.
all those things. The other addition I'd say is if you're going to a section where you may need a computer, take one, because there's not going to be spare laptops kicking around.
Yeah.
Also bring electric conversion if you're coming from
Yes.
not on the continent. Maybe battery power as well could be helpful. There have been some camps where
Charge all your things.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. I think we've covered all the bases of the Contributor Day.
And hydrate.
And hydrate. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
With
Yes. Yeah. We've done it. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So again, this is a bit stale, but well worth mentioning. I don't know what benefit this confers on the event, but it is just to say that WordCamp Europe has received patronage, as we say in the UK, not patronage, from the European Parliament. From what I've read on this article, it's basically just the European Parliament just kind of giving a bit of a thumbs up to the WordPress community and just saying, we recognize your endeavors, we recognize what you're doing. You are good custodians, and we will grant you this. Well, it says here prestigious patronage, but I'm not entirely sure what that means. If there's any money that comes along with that, or any special status for future events or anything. But anyway, well done. Standing on the shoulders of giants over many years, I'm sure we could say there. Anything to add to that, or shall I move on?
I'm hoping it just improves the visa process, particularly for a lot of our
Ooh.
Asian community. A lot of the Asian community coming in to this event struggle with their visa application process, getting things approved in time. I know that the wait lists in India in particular have been years long to just even get your initial appointment to get a visa. So I don't know if this will help unblock any of that, but one can dream.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
unfortunately, I'm not sure it will because of the way that Europe works, and the different because it's a different country each time. But I actually hope it would see some monetary, but I don't think we find out what the patronage is, unfortunately.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing, it doesn't kind of say what it does. But it's great to be it's great that it's being recognized because it's certainly been there for a while as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, and even if it does confer some official authority and it does make that visa process even a tiny bit easier, that would be great. And then here's an event which Taco's just put in my direction. I did know about it, but I failed to put it into our rundown. This is run in conjunction with Yoast, Codable, Bluehost, and it's the WCEU Pride Party. See the date there, 14th from 8 p.m. Is this a ticketed thing?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes,
So,
but
look here.
since we sold out the event in less than 48 hours, we contacted the venue and we added some extra tickets. So there should still be a few tickets available now.
Go now.
You're nearly at 500. I'll tell you, folks, this was last year. This party was my favorite, outdoing the after party pretty swiftly.
Was that the one where I was speaking to you via mobile phone?
Yes, it was quite loud, and Nathan and I were trying to converse just a little. So I would type my response because I needed a voice yet to get through the rest of the event.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to yell over the things. But yes, that was that event, Nathan.
So I asked you a question and then you typed out the reply. And I'll tell you what, Courtney can type on a mobile phone keyboard as fast as I can talk. It is pretty impressive, actually. I was gobsmacked by how incredibly quick you were. So there's a whole bunch of events going on. There is a tab on the website. Let me just see if I can find it.
And
Community.
a lot on the same day. So again, you do
Yeah.
not have to be at all the events at the same time.
Here we go,
'cause you
side
don't have to
events.
close them.
One of them which I've always enjoyed is it's a picnic. So it's just outdoors. It's the 12th, so it's a couple of days before the whole thing kicks off. It's just, it's nice. Hopefully the weather will be nice. It starts at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no limits because it's in a public park. So you can just sign up for that and hopefully just meet some of your fellow WordPressers. That'll be quite nice.
I'm going
And
to shamelessly toss in the link there from the WP World for its WordCamp Europe Day 2. If you're looking for additional side parties, etc., Marcus is organizing those in conjunction with your ability to show others that you have been to that camp.
okay, let me just pop that one on the screen. So
Yeah.
this is Marcus's project, the WP.world. And then if you click on, I guess, WP events, you'll be able to find this. It's /events/WordCamp-Europe-2024.
Yeah.
And
if you scroll down a little
There we
on
go.
the right-hand side, it lists some site events as well.
nice.
And you can find others that are going and roughly, see if there's anyone from close to home for you.
This project that Marcus has put together, it gets more useful by the week, and he seems to add a new feature on, which is profoundly interesting every week. So bravo, Marcus. You were in the comments. I don't know if you're still there, but thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So yeah, go there. I'll try to link to that in the show notes as well. We've done that. Okay, so this one came up this week. I can't remember if one of you was the ones that dropped this in, or if this
I
came
just
from
did,
me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Angela
okay.
reached out about this one this morning in my time.
Okay,
Um,
so I haven't read this one, so I'll just hand it to you, Courtney.
I had a chance only while we were organizing show notes because, again, Montclair, I just got them last night. But if you look at the table that you see at the bottom of our screen, that's where my eyes first went. And you see that it doesn't really show you scroll bars, but it will tell you 2016, we have 107 events, 33, almost 34,000 unique attendees, 47, almost 1,000 tickets sold. And then let's scroll all the way to 2024. We've had 22 events thus far, or that are planned. Only 6,425 new attendees and only 9,821 tickets purchased. So I like data. That will come up in maybe another piece we're about to cover. From the data that I'm seeing in this article about growing the sustainability, the growth of this community, those are some interesting numbers. I'll just say that. And this article, I'm sure, will go on for that, but they're discussing next-gen events, re-engagement, initiatives to support the growth of the community. There are lots of different types of data that are shown here. I would encourage folks to take a look, read it at a slower pace than I've had time to yet, and weigh in with feedback. Comments on this post are going to be really important.
Just having a very brief look, and I like data when it's in a chart. A table is like my enemy. It's like, whoa, too many numbers. But this chart speaks to me quite nicely. I mean, obviously, we all know why this just fell off a cliff here. I'm guessing, the advent of COVID and what have you. But my suspicion was that it wouldn't come back particularly quickly. I just think we all got, derailed by COVID and changed the way that we behave and live and work and commute and travel and all of that. But this does seem to be going in a nice direction. I mean, I suppose we could all have hoped that it would have shot up more logarithmically than that, but that does seem to be going in the right direction. But then when I look at these numbers, it kind of makes me pause for thought. But where are we? We're in June, so we're not really even halfway through the year. So it's a bit early to be.
And
I don't know,
it depends whether this number already includes, for example, WordCamp Europe, because that's a big game changer. Same goes for WordCamp US, of course, because that's adding thousands to our numbers.
Yeah.
I think it depends on geography. So England's a good example. We only have one WordCamp. And I think it depends on where people are, the cost of living, whether your country is in a cost of living crisis or whether your country isn't in a cost of living crisis, because some aren't. The lucky countries that aren't. It's changed. That wasn't a situation. Like England's the only country I can speak of because where I live. But we certainly had a lot of WordCamps before, right? For the small space that we had. And we have one now that isn't one that a lot of people are necessarily going to get to. It's just a small one. We and people live so spread out, and even meetups, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, that's the
So
thing. If you scroll down, Nathan,
Uh-huh.
because I think WordCamps are the bigger events, but
yeah,
this one is for meetups. This graph, I'll skip the
yeah.
number because you didn't like them.
The bad numbers.
If you look at that blue line, which is new members for meetups,
yeah.
it's just gone.
Oh gosh, that's
Yeah.
that's basically flatlined at zero, hasn't it? I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It must
But
be.
that makes a lot of sense to me. If I look in my area, the nearest meetup to
Yeah.
me is probably over 100 miles away. It's
Like
a while
and
away.
part
Yeah.
of that too, I was speaking with Victor Ramirez, who is one of the New York City organizers. And what happened in New York during the pandemic, there was a pretty mass exodus where a lot of
Yeah.
the career-oriented folks no longer live in the city, and they don't want to go into the city
No.
on a weeknight to attend
Yeah.
a meetup. And
Yeah.
so it's having to rethink everything about the approach.
And I would say during the pandemic, probably attending more meetups is the interesting thing. So maybe considering more virtual or those kind of things is something to kind of there, because I know I did. I attended way more meetups when during
Well,
the pandemic than I
yeah.
do now.
That's the interesting thing when you look at the numbers above this graph, because the problem with this graph is that it shows the scale up to 150,000, whereas events hosted is a very low number. So that's why it looks like it's almost zero. But we went from almost 6,000 events, so meetup events in 2019 to, well, at the low point, 3,100, which is half. And the far majority will be online. But if you look at the number, the new members, it's just gone. 2018, we had 71,000 new members. In 2023, we had 7,000.
Hmm.
That means we lost 90% of new attendees. If we look
Gosh.
at RSVPs, we went from almost 140,000 in 2018 to 70,000 in 2022. That's half.
Mm.
So it's a lot that we lost over COVID.
Right. Okay. So a couple of things just to throw in. The first one is Tammy mentioned this. So this is the event
The one.
happening. The one. I've got myself a ticket. I wasn't able to go last year because I had other things on, but I'm going to be attending this one. It's close to me actually. It's in just on the coast near Newcastle.
I went to the last one. I'm unable to go to this one, but
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. I even had vegan fish and chips. It was
Oh,
amazing.
nice.
It was
Nice.
banana blossom.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was amazing. So
I
I
need to try that.
Yeah. And I walked all the way out and took photographs to the lighthouse. It was a beautiful WordCamp. So I
Oh.
really recommend it.
Oh, well, I'm very pleased to hear all that. So this is Whitley Bay. So this is
Mhm.
happening in the UK. Another thing to mention, just take that off the screen, is so adding a little bit more, let's say, sanguine. The WordPress London meetup has returned, and they're going on the final Thursday of every month, and they had one last Thursday, and 51 people came into the room. So actually, I think that was that
Nice.
the organizers, Dan, Paul, were pretty pleased, I think, with those numbers. That's really nice. It's near London Bridge. If you are thinking about it, you can just Google WPLDN. And yeah, you can organize. It's free. You can just turn up.
And I think the Brighton one is started like kind of coming back again. I'm nowhere near that part anymore. But I think people are starting to do them again, but I also think there's just a change in people's habits.
Yep.
It's changing people's lives. People discovered this thing called hobbies and their families during the pandemic. And when they finish work, I would like to add to the mix. Maybe meetups are not such a thing that people do so much,
Mhm.
and that may also be a change in behaviors. So it's kind of a balance as to where are the other ways.
Yeah.
That's it. Meetups are great and awesome, but where are the other ways that kind of that energy can be put into it as well?
Okay, so a couple of comments, then we'll return to this, but just a couple of things. Firstly, James is just thanking Taco for his helpful tip. That's nice. And Marcus is saying thank you for the kind words about the WP world. And Cameron, disappointed he missed Whitley Bay last year. It was literally days after I left the UK. Bless him. He was in part of the Page Builder Summit, and he was doing it in a room in his hotel in New York City. And I felt mixed feelings about that, because it was really nice that he was in the summit, but also he was in New York in his
It's Cameron based in Australia.
yeah. But
Okay,
he was
that's what I
in
thought.
the UK for a lot of time last year.
Yes. So
Cricket.
Cameron, are you able to get to the WordCamp that is happening in Australia?
Yeah.
I'm very curious to know.
Yeah,
And I think I saw some news
No
from
one.
you about the WordCamp in Australia. I know, Nathan, you had interviewed Joe Mini last year regarding WordCamp Australia happening. And I was delighted to see some news that Cameron shared.
Sydney.
Yeah.
Sydney. I think Sydney. I want to say Sydney. I'm sure it was Sydney. I bet Cameron's going to be there with bells on, but we'll wait and see if his comment drops in. Anyway, so that was Whitley Bay. Let me see if we got anything more about that. Anyway, sorry. So that piece, let me just give it its title in case you're only listening to this on audio. This was produced on 31st of May, so a couple of days ago, and it's by
Rocio.
Thank you, Rocio Valdivia. Current challenges of WordPress events shaping the future. And so there's stats, data, but I would imagine there's a little bit more discussion to be had around all that as well. All right, let's move on. I don't want to dwell on this one too much, but I just want to alert you to it. And I think this maybe has a connection with what we've just been talking about. There seems to be more talk now about how does WordPress market itself, and whether that's marketing to the crowd of people who are already listening. So, things like this. Nobody's going to stumble across this show the first week they get into WordPress. This is really for people who nerd out on it, right? But how do we get the message out there to explain to people what WordPress is, to explain where all the resources are, to explain how you can build a website, that there is a community, that you can be involved and shape the future of it and all of that. And quite a few people, Jamie Marsden is one of them, talking about what they've got going on over at Wix, right? It's a word we don't say very often on the show, but here we go. They have 400, count them on many hands, 400 full-time marketing people getting the word out about what it is, how it works, how much it costs, what you can do with it, and all of that. And we don't, because our system is entirely different. It's broadly led by volunteers. And so the idea was, why don't we put like a Media Corp together, and they could be charged with figuring out how the messaging goes out there. And there's an article which came out on the 27th of May. I'll pop it on the screen quickly. I didn't realize I'd taken it off, which is it's a summation of a call that happened, explaining what the media team would look like, what that core would look like, what the rules of engagement are, who would be the people that would be a part of it, and so on. So if you've got marketing chops and you're interested, you can be a part of this. I honestly, I don't think any of this is locked down at this point. So you could really forge ahead with this. It's something that I'm obviously deeply interested in. I wasn't able to attend because I was at a wedding, so couldn't go whether I wanted to or not. But I'm kind of keen to see how this goes. But honestly, I think we do have to take this seriously, because we're whether we like it or not, we are going to be compared to these commercial platforms that have got these giant pockets, Super Bowl ad money that they can spend and get their product out there. And obviously we've just seen what 5 years ago was a thriving community, got absolutely gouged and hollowed out by a pandemic, much like everything else did. But we can't spend our way back into being a successful team. So we need ways of distributing the message. I've said too much. Is there anything you would like to say on this article? It's a no.
You go for it.
It's a yes with caution. So you mentioned about Wix having an entire marketing department. Right now, the experiment is to close the current WordPress marketing team and instead have a Media Corps, which is slightly akin to public relations, different type of PR
Right. That's a good
to
way.
tell the
Yeah.
devs.
Yes.
And it's under the word experiment has been used in there. I have yet to see what defines this as a success or not, or what becomes of the marketing team or not, because there are other parts the marketing team has played. I myself contributed to the marketing team by way of handling a lot of what's on the about page during releases and thinking about wordsmithing into, we send an email out to plugin devs every time that we hit RC, meaning the code is frozen. And let's make sure the plugin devs have read the field guide and ensure they know all of the things, right? So there's other pieces that are marketing that are important as well to do. And the team, I believe the marketing team was asking for some data, and essentially it kind of came around to, we can't provide that data. So instead, we're going to experiment by closing the team and launching Media Corp, which is a bit of a public relations effort, but it doesn't necessarily help me know how we define as this experiment working or not. And then also currently what I see is an effort to outreach to the WordPress news, which I fully support. And in
Thank
fact,
you.
try to help give them the information of here's what's happening in WordPress.org. I am busy a lot of times on trying to round all of that up. So you have one single spot to get that source of information via the roundups I do for post status. And pro tip, I hope that the podcasters, newsletter people, and YouTubers crib note it, as I know Nathan does,
I do.
for their audiences. But at the same time, is it also to get beyond the WordPress bubble of news? Is this an effort to also go to some of the bigger tech companies covering tech news outside of our bubble? And I don't know what the current vision is to get us from WordPress bubble to like making sure that WordPress is attributed correctly over WordPress.com and the big tech journal sites that we see a lot of those kind of coverages. So there's question.
I think it's really okay. I'm going to get into it.
Taco also jump in.
Oh yeah, sorry, Taco. Sorry. Go first, 'cause I'm so glad.
I'm really happy with what Courtney said, because that means that I don't have to be the blunt Dutch guy to fail everything. But like you said, an experiment without a measure of success and without frame as to how long will this run, who's going to run it, who's going to assess its success, all of that is not an experiment. The only reason you call it an experiment is because it keeps people quiet, because then it's not something final. So I very much disagree with calling this an experiment. That said, and that's something that you touched on in basically your last sentence. If you look at the criteria, then the media partners criteria, one of them is have a focus on producing content that is at least 80% about WordPress. So we are going to collect the people in a Media Corp who are already advocating for WordPress, who are already touching on WordPress.
Yeah, I can see why you say that. Yeah.
And when Josefa held the first meeting regarding this, she had cited, seeing that I was in the meeting, she had cited GoDaddy's blog. And I said, well, but WordPress is such a small fraction of the revenue at GoDaddy. I don't think the community quite sees or knows that amount. And our blog reflects how much of our base is WordPress or not. And her mentioning that I'm the one that often writes, here's what's going on in the release on the GoDaddy blog, or here's what's going on at the camp, which is great. And I love to support our community that way. But I will be the first to say that 80% of our blog is certainly not WordPress related. That it reflects more the rest also of what GoDaddy has going on, which is bigger than WordPress.
Yeah, I guess also there is the danger. Okay, so me as an example, right? Putting my neck on the chopping board a bit. If I was to be involved in this, there is an opportunity for me to be really self-serving. I could, promote all the things that I do, and the temptation would obviously be that. I mean, I hope that I would resist that temptation, but you get the point, right? If you're creating content in the WordPress space, there's an opportunity to, push your version of the 6.6 release article, as opposed to, well, you just said GoDaddy, let's go with that, the GoDaddy version of it. So need to be a bit mindful of all that. And you would hope that the intuitions of the people involved would be sensible. And obviously, the sword of Damocles, you're not going to be a part of this team anymore. Maybe that would also straighten things up. But it's going to be interesting, because I don't want to be accused of, being self-serving, particularly, you understand what I mean. But I get it. But I think this story's going to run. What standards? It says content quality standards, all of that. So as I said on a previous show, that kind of rules me out.
I think you're underselling yourself here.
Okay, so go and take a look. If you are, if you're interested in marketing WordPress, and I just want to come back to Courtney's point. I think one of the big things would be to get the message out to the big publications, the New York Times, the TechCrunch, the Verge. I'm just making up things, whatever press there is out there, who probably don't have the faintest idea that WordPress is 43% of the internet, this titanic force, and just treats it in a very, I don't know, maybe sort of slightly offhand, sort of parochial cottage industry kind of way. And I think that would be one of the great benefits to come out of something like this. If we could get the word out to the big hitters, that to me sounds like a really nice idea. Yeah. Tammy, did you want to say anything?
I want to do a lot of listening about this space, because it's not something that is particularly something that I know so much of, but I also want to believe a lot of good intent. And I think that there's a lot of people who want creating content. And what I hope is that it also surfaces the good people that are making content for those of us that want to consume it. I guess that's like a really minor hope.
No.
But one of the things is it's easy to go to the same sources all the time. And part of this that I hope as a consumer of WordPress content is it will expose more content to me as well. So yeah, that's just something that I think it might do, is raise up some of the voices that maybe we don't hear so much. So yeah, that's why I've been quiet, because it's not really that I have.
I get it. Thank you for speaking up, though. That's great. I think maybe I've inoculated myself a little bit, because I don't actually create content where I speak.
But you're still creating content. I'm going to correct you. You're still creating content. This is content.
Okay. Yeah. What I'm saying is that the purpose of things like this is to highlight other people's content. I do. No, you're right. I'll shut up.
You are creating content.
Yeah, all right.
I hate to go into bubble. You actually are creating content.
I've shut myself. That was a failure. Okay.
Even if you open a box on TikTok, you are creating content, as much as people don't want to say they are when they do that.
What is fascinating, though, is I've got all the alerts. Courtney does a better job than I do of creating the news, but I've got all the alerts for all the things in Google, and all of that. Yeah. And it is really rare.
You probably are getting some of the information that maybe someone who's trying to start to find that and trying to write for WordPress doesn't have. So maybe this would be a way for them having access to that, or having access to interview people, or having access to that. So then we can have different journalistic voices. That could be a really awesome part of this that I'm also thinking about. Like, who are the new voices that could come through from this? I'm going to always think of the happy, positive things and the best content, because
also I've gone out and subscribed to every kind of RSS and I don't think people do that these days, do they?
Not the youngins, no. We're in the RSS forever.
Yeah, we still got those feed readers. What? What's a feed reader, Dad? Lie down and I'll tell you.
I will also kind of say that in the weekly roundups that I do, I have been pulling in core track. It's hidden under the details block with click to expand. I've been pulling in GitHub discussions and GitHub issues as well. Basically anything I can pull together. Now I recognize I need design help. And if there are any people that contribute design to the project that have ideas about this and or revising makes.wordpress.org/latest, that's always a good option. But I recognize that the community that wants to pay attention to what's happening in the news aren't going to go to the million different little places to source that together. My own efforts, when I do the weekly roundups, I keep commentary out of the thing as much as I can
Right.
and let people pick from, here is everything in one place. It needs some design improvements. I'm not that person, but at least everything is in one place and people can pick what they need to cover out of that. I have concerns. Matt Medeiros, Cameron alluded to something that Matt Medeiros was dealing with. Matt had applied to be a media partner at EU in the past. He's unclear who makes the decisions for who gets in for that or not. He thought he was invited to the first kickoff for the media partners program and did not receive the actual invite. So there's some things that are like to be worked out.
Okay.
I'll just leave that there.
So you must check out on Post Status. Courtney releases this weekly, and it's a title with a link. So the link is the title, and so that's what you get, and it's brilliant because and it's all in different categories and sections, and it's just easy scrollable. Your eyes can wander a lot, but there is everything in there.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I go and steal a proportion of what you've put in there, but then I take the title and then I add a little bit of, not my words, the first 100 words or paragraph of the person's commentaries, just so there's a little bit more content there. But I'm not doing as much surfacing as you are. But I appreciate that.
I'm happy to do that kind of thing.
Oh, I'm so glad that you do. Yeah, it makes my life, like I said, it's theft by another name. So here we go. So a few more comments. James, back again. This is,
James was saying, yes, I was hanging out with James this weekend.
Oh, nice. I don't know why I'm reading it in my head. I should probably be reading it out loud. That's what I found out this past week at Montclair. According to the rules, an organizer can only run a camp for 2 terms, or like president. Does that mean per camp or any camp overall? So that's a question. Does anybody have an answer? I don't.
It's complicated.
Okay. Leave it there.
Facebook status, yeah. Now, so what we want to prevent is someone owning an event, so that when someone is the founder of a local WordCamp, which is already an interesting term, but let's put it that way, that they sort of claim the right to organize that event for years to come, which will eventually, and that's what we're trying to prevent, have some bias towards maybe industry friends being allowed to speak, et cetera, et cetera. So if we switch, if we say you can do this 2 years in a row, and then someone else has to take the lead, you can still be on the organizing team, you can still be a volunteer, you can be involved, but you cannot be the lead organizer for more than 2 years to prevent that sort of claiming an event from being yours.
Yeah, human nature gets in there, doesn't it? And I think we did actually have an example of that a year or so ago, where there seemed to be one of the camps was cancelled, wasn't it, at the very last moment somewhere in the world, because there was a feeling that had happened. I can't remember the exact nature of that story, but okay, thank you for that. And Toru, maybe there. So he's replying to James. Maybe there are areas in which the rule is a blocker, but at least in Japan, less and less people want to challenge to be in that position. Okay, so could be a blocker, couldn't it? If people are willing and they want to do 10 events in a row and it's going to keep the event going. Okay. The WP Minute, Cameron was saying, had some ellipsis, interesting things to say about the kickoff calls. You can go check that out.
That would be Matt Medeiros.
Matt Medeiros, yeah, thank you. And Michelle Frechette, she's late, but here she is. Hi, Michelle. Yeah, hi.
Michelle, I hope you brought your coffee along.
Yeah, come on.
It was a good weekend.
Get the coffee going. And then Peter is back. This experiment. So we're back onto the Media Corp. This experiment gives me a lot of reasons to be wary and a few to be happy. It feels
Yay, happy.
like gatekeeping. It was loud happiness. That was great. Yeah, sudden burst of happiness there. That was good. So, okay, I'd be interested to know. Is it because is it because you're concerned about who the people are or what the criteria are, or is it the fact that the experiment doesn't have the goals, if you like? Yeah, okay. And Michelle is now fully caffeinated with lots of capital letters.
She was in Montclair with me.
It was the so yeah. All right. We've got something about Michelle. I don't know if it's the next one to come up. Maybe it is. No. We're on to this. So we've got 2 articles which Courtney brought to my attention, and we're going to do them in the correct order. So the first one is this one, Project Help Hangouts and Working Group Kickoff. You wrote this a little over a week ago. Tell us what's going on here then.
Well, I will give you, if you scroll to the bottom of the article, there are 4 replays available at this time, and we will have bulleted lists from that. I did some outreach. I DM'd Taco and Tammy both as well. So we want data in the project. We like data to help make decisions. We just saw in the camp and meetup space, we were just talking about lots of data points. It's weird seeing so many of me on the screen, Nathan.
Scroll up.
Yeah, that's fine. So we announced this. We are currently trialing some tools to help us get better data related to the health and sustainability from a contributor base of the project. So I had asked Matt a question at Europe last year. I remember Kareem asked a question, Kareem Marucci, I don't know, a decade ago, kind of related to having dashboards for teams. And so looking at the initiatives that teams have, what work is getting done and what work needs to be done, and how sustainable are we being from that perspective. But I identified, as you can see there, that there's 4 bullet points right where your mouse just was about team health. So looking at this first and foremost from the lens of the team, let's benefit the team, elevate the work of what they are doing and what needs to get done. Then individual contributors. Some contributors choose that they would like to be sponsored for the work that they do. Some choose that they do not wish to be sponsored, and so that's okay as well. But both of them have different types of data that they would like. For instance, those that would like to be sponsored, whether they currently are or not, may want some data to support that they're actually doing stuff with the payment that they're receiving. So having some data available for them in a way that doesn't require lots of manual calculation, which Tammy shared with me her methods just a bit, and it's rather manual at this time. So let's help alleviate some of that. But then additionally, those that are individual contributors and don't want to be sponsored, I've heard from some folks about, Andy Fragan shared on one of the earlier posts that's linked above. Andy did a lot of work with Colin on the rollback initiatives happening inside of Core. And when we look at those beautiful bubble charts during State of the Word that JV helped make possible related to the props that Jonathan DeRosier helps calculate, that's a metric related to a release, and we're boiling everything down to a number of 1, whether it is 1 merge or 1 proofreading grammar correction or something of that sort. So we would like to maybe have some different types of metrics, saying perhaps compare also lines of code or some different types of things. Organizational stakeholders, I reached out to Taco and I said, hey, your organization has also contributed, as is mine, to sponsoring people to contribute, whether that is sending staff in or giving money to others who are already doing the contribution. So what data do they need? And then finally, also our project stakeholders, so that if we kick off some new initiative and some project, that we're not stretching an already thin contributor base thinner in terms of all the things that we are attempting to do. So I have a demo of, and I'm going to only, let's do a share screen. I'm only sharing in that right now we don't make this, we will make data public. The first thing that we are trialing requires a login to get in. And you'll understand that as you look at this, we don't want to necessarily show all the data, because if you study data science, not everything should be public. Meaning I could see we've connected GitHub to this tool, Baturja. Baturja is a SaaS platform that integrates several open source tools. Under the hood, there is Grimoire Lab, which is a open source tool that you could connect many data sources to. We have only connected GitHub to this at this time. But it will take many different types of tools and help get a lot of that data together. First and foremost, we're still reviewing which tool is going to be the tool for the project. Should we build it ourselves? Should we pay for a SaaS that takes care of it? What are the pros and cons of that? So we have some metrics available to start, but we're also kind of making some decisions from that perspective. Automatic is paying at this time $1,000 a month to trial what we currently have. And if we want to hook up more data points, such as Slack to this, the cost can increase. So I think Slack would be great from a perspective of seeing the types of meetings and attendance, people participate in that. That's not even counted anywhere right now. Oh, so sorry. Give it a second to load here. But additional types of points that I would like to see included. In the past, Georgia has worked with Meetup, but the APIs, when Meetup got acquired, those APIs were deprecated. So if we choose to go with GatherPress or when we're factoring GlotPress translations and some other things, given that the underpinnings of the Turja are also, let's see, I go into GitHub PRs and do an overview here. So we're working on setting up the dashboards per teams and that type of data. What I would love to see is GitHub track, which currently is not built, WordPress revisions, not just RSS, so that we can attribute somebody that revises something or some other thing. So to add these other features in is possible. Maybe we could attribute those open source to Grimoire that is underpinning the Turja, right? There's things to consider with all of this. What you can see here is that Izada, I've been working with Hari and Izada on a lot of this work. And Izada has done a lot of the work of setting up, this person is sponsored by this organization at this time.
Nice.
And I would love to automate that so that individuals like Tammy, who work sometimes for this organization for a period of time and that organization for a period of time, are accounted for. I am forming my thoughts around how do we accumulate all of this data? Who are the decision makers? How do we, in an ongoing way, make maintaining this kind of data sustainable? And then what stories do we tell with it? So we can see contributions in decline in this, and I'm choosing not to show that on the screen. There are lots of different data points, but I don't want to out that individual contributors may be declining in their contributions. These ones are the ones that are really active in the last. At the top of the screen, I can kind of set out some of the dates with that to say in a certain period of time who is contributing what types of information. But we would never want to publicly air this person is contributing far less, but perhaps team reps may want to connect with that person and see, is life going okay? I don't need the personals, but is life okay? That we see that your contributions are declining, and also check and see, is there something about .org that we can work on to improve that experience? And if you're choosing some other part of life over contributing, good on you, please take care of you, but let's work on getting some things reassigned so that we don't have things dangling forever. We could also see data about PRs that have been sitting around for a long period of time unmerged to help bring that together. So this is very early. This is demo 1. There are many tools that do parts of this. We kind of went for what one of the big industry standard options actually is as our first area to explore, and automatic, wonderful folks that they are for helping us get that information. We don't want to ongoing continue to expect Automatic to pay for all of this. So they have shared that they are willing to cover us for this trial. But if we choose to have a data source, we need to either, as the open source project, come up with, build it ourselves and actually have the labor to do so, or collect funds to make it possible.
Wow, Courtney, peeling back the layers of the onion there. What's going on in the background? That was pretty cool.
I'm also thinking about, we've got some folks that are knowledge workers being, their job involves lots of reading historically how this came about, and that's hard to document. So I've looked at, Drupal has an interesting way that they log their contributions. I've thought about that for the areas that don't get tracked. And ways that
to this piece, is that what you were?
In that piece, I was looking at, we know if you see Jeff Paul shares in there that Luke Carbus is sponsored by multiple organizations for his work, Elementor and Omnisend. Back Luke Carbus for plugin review, which is fantastic. Thank you to those organizations as well. But how do we divvy up some of that? Likewise, it led me to thinking when I was working on the dashboards about how the teams are structured and how we would need to have dashboards for various initiatives. Where do I put Birgit with the DEIB working group? I wrote a post on my own site recently too, just kind of asking very generally these questions about the teams and the organization of the teams and working groups and all of that.
Someone like Jorben is going to be a good example of that, because Jorben has how many different sponsors now?
Right.
across multiple different spaces. Yeah. So
Yeah. I want to
one
get
field
carbon
does
up to
not
a
work.
reasonable hourly rate too. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's what at the moment I'm a one source just for a fixed term, but that's not what most people are going to do, and that's maybe not what my future will be. And that's the whole
Yeah.
point about those of us who are project focused with our contributions. So yes, been able to adapt to those of us who are in. I wouldn't say it's different versions of contribution because I think there's a lot of us doing it now. So
Mhm.
I would just, dear listener, I'll just point you back towards the article, which kind of give you a summation of what Courtney was talking about there. And 22nd of May, written by Courtney over on Make, and it's Project Health Hangouts and Working Group Kickoff. And whilst you can't get into the bits and the pieces, I'm not sure if these demos show some of the stuff
They
that
do.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see what's going on there. And yeah, sustainability, whenever I hear that word, I'm always thinking about the environment. I don't know why that pops into my head. I always think green, cutting down carbon, that kind of thing. But really, it's a much bigger enterprise in the WordPress space. It's not just about that, although that is
Mhm.
part of the, one of the spokes, if you like, but keeping the project going, keeping the meetups going, the events going, the people being recognized for the contributions they make. And looks like Courtney's got all the tendrils in progress trying to make all of that work. But
Well,
that was fascinating.
and again, many thanks to Harry, Izada, and Naoko for their work and helping get this together thus far.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I don't know if we've got any comments about that, but we do have one from Peter related back to the marketing team, which will just pop up there. I was asking Peter what were the reasons that he was not bullish about it, let's say that. And he says, honestly, all of the above. So that's everything we mentioned, I guess, especially after following the marketing team discussion on Slack. People wanted to do real marketing, but were, for lack of a better word, squelched. So, okay, I confess I didn't see that happening, but thank you for your insight, Peter. All right, we're going to move on very quickly. I just want to mention this over on learn.wordpress.org. The beginner user. So this is, I guess, like the 101 of WordPress. Nice, straightforward little course. We're not going to dwell on it for long. You can see it's made up of components and different parts, site editing, content creation, spam. It's the basics. But if you've got clients and you wanted them to have a quick, easy way to figure out how WordPress works, well, now there's this. Beginner WordPress user, it's called, and you can check it out. So that's really nice. And WP, let me get it right. Women. What? Yes, women. Yes, we had a discussion before that I'm incapable of reading, basically, and I was confusing the singular and the plural. Women, woman. This is Michelle Frechette yet again, because honestly, Michelle doesn't do enough. She's got countless minutes every month, which are needlessly wasted. And so she decided to launch another newsletter. And this is such an interesting initiative, as they always are. It says, welcome to the only newsletter in WordPress by women, for women, and about women, and then inclusive of non-binary friends. If you want to subscribe to this, if that is your bag and you would like to be a part of this email list, you know what to do. Go to WP, such a good URL, WP Wonder Woman Women .com. Again, it'll be in the show notes.
Michelle, you now need to register an extra domain.
That's right. I'm so sorry. I've butchered it.
Nick
Yeah.
needs to buy it for you.
Yeah, thank you. WP Wonder, WOMEN. I seemingly can't pronounce that correctly. But I will put it into the show notes.com. And yeah, it's just the beginning. And Michelle in the comments has made the point that it's not just Michelle. Sorry.
Well, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
No.
It's plural, Michelle. It's also Michelle Butcher Jones. So you can see them on the screen there. So the two of them have collaborated on this project. I haven't received a copy of that letter yet, so I can't talk anymore. But as time is pressing, can we crack on?
I would say that you're not the target audience.
I don't know, Taco. I've got, yeah, all right. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, here we go. Next one. It goes up to 11. That's just a Spinal Tap reference, if you've ever seen that film. Up until very recently, the plugin count on the WordPress plugin directory, it tapped out at 5 million, I want to say. It was 5 million.
Yep.
So if you had more than 5 million, it just said, nothing more than 5 million. And so variety of plugins, for example, Yoast, that doesn't really do them justice, I don't think. If you've got a giant company and it's doing really great work, it's kind of nice to get that little pat on the back, right? Anyway, now you go up to 10 million, which from what Taco said, doesn't even kind of reach the limits of where Yoast should be. It needs to go a little bit further north than that. But I think this is quite a nice gesture. It looks as though it wasn't a difficult thing to implement. But honestly, Taco, for a company like yours, do you think it'll have like some kind of knock-on? Does it add a little bit of kudos to the company if, it's 10 million, not 5 million, right? It puts you in like the elite of the elite in that sense.
Well, that's the thing. If you now go to the plugins on WordPress.org, and you go to...
do you want me to do
you
that?
have a browser? Yes, you can do this. WordPress.org/plugins.
See if I can spell that. Yeah, I seem to be able to. It's such
you
a
have to-
nice design now. I love it.
Yeah. Then you have to block enable, but if you scroll down a little further, there will be featured plugins.
See all?
And if you see all, I think this can be ordered by
wasn't there
Or
a...
is it most popular plugins? There's another category. I think it's that. I think it's another category that says
Okay.
most popular plugins.
Where am I going then? Should I have seen
Yeah,
that?
one
Okay.
step back.
Go back. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go down.
I think so.
Popular.
Yeah, popular plugins. There you have it.
There you go.
So if you click see all, because now you only see 4, and it's like, well, everyone's on 10 million.
Hey, that's right.
But if you
Yeah.
scroll down a little bit, then you see that it's actually just 4 plugins who've reached 10
Wow.
plus million. And that the gap
Wow.
to the number
Whoa.
5, numbers 5, is at least 3 million.
That's that. So actually, when you look at this, I've just clicked back, right? So now I'm on the plugins directory vanilla. I'm into the section called popular plugins. That really helps your business there. That little selection there, the 4. What? Yeah, I mean, have you noticed
hope
any
so.
sort of uptick there recently since this all happened? I mean, I guess you were always in among. I don't know. I can't remember what the selection was.
I think it's too recent for
Okay.
us to see any changes yet.
Yep.
So ask me again in about a month.
Okay.
But definitely does allow us to show, how big we really are.
Nice. And it's there. It's been there for a few days now, I think. So it goes up to 11. It doesn't. It goes up to 10 million. Hot drama. Straight in. The classic plugin, the classic editor plugin, is one of the 4 plugins with 10 million plus installs. Yeah, there was bound to be some fruity, interesting story in there, wasn't there? The classic editor plugin is basically kind of disable Gutenberg, and obviously that's some people's bag, but we're not getting into that today. Done that story before. Okay.
Thanks, Marcus.
It also shows.
Yeah, thanks. No, but he's right, though. There it is. And I did see it on social media. I think a few people were interested to see that was right up there. And who knows what the number is there. We just know it's 10 million plus. But anyway, that was kind of
What I
interesting.
do think, Nathan, and that's one thing I want to point out, is how incredibly impressive it is for Contact Form 7 to be in here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a single developer. It's not a team. It's not a commercial product.
Yeah.
I mean, Classic Editor is a different beast. But between Yoast Elementor and Contact Form 7 is the only completely free product. This is a single maintainer building a huge thing. That's
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, that really is amazing. I think everybody knows about that plugin, don't they? Everybody's heard of Contact Form
Apparently.
7. Yeah. That's kind of cool. Okay, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to move on very quickly. Where did we get to? So we did that one. We are very short of time, but I want to give Taco a little bit of time because why not? Well, this isn't Taco, actually. This is somebody that Taco knows. It's Marika van der Act, who was the CEO of Yoast, but stepped away a little while ago. What do we think? 18 months, something like that, Taco, roughly.
Almost. Yep.
Okay, about that.
Yep.
And lovely little article here, all about what I'm sure we've all suffered with, procrastination. Sitting there and realizing that you filled out a survey online. I can't remember what it was, but it was something that clearly, is very banal and really didn't occupy very many useful minutes of your time. And all about what she's doing, which includes not only why she thinks she procrastinates, but also a hint at a possible product coming your way soon. I think probably with her husband, who's also called Yoast, but spelled differently. And it looks like they've got something called Progress or Progress Planner. It just says our new plugin will launch soon. And let's hope it is soon and not like in 8 years' time, because they both just got totally procrastinated and forgot.
That would not be a good skills.
I regret those words already, but it was a good joke. So out it came. But anyway, this article is over at marika.com and it'll be the one from the 31st.
Yeah. And it's interesting because she's speaking on this topic at WordCamp Europe.
Yeah.
So I have high hopes that the coming soon might actually be.
Oh, coming like real soon. Oh, that soon. Oh,
I mean,
okay. I have high hopes. Is that a euphemism for I've got a little bit of a back? Do you
I
know?
wish.
Okay.
I wish. No, but it is a problem that I'm struggling with. So if they have a solution, then I'm interested.
I'll tell you what, working from home, which it looks like, I mean, you look like Taco, you might be in an office. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. I everything at home. And I have days where it all just flies. Everything happens exactly as I would wish it to. And then I have other days where it's like, what did I do? I stroked the cat and read a book and, that kind of thing. And I've just learned to forgive myself and realize that's just part of my nature, but I could do better. So if there's a plug-in for that, I'll take it. Tammy? Courtney, anything on that?
I'm not sure plugin's going to save you, but a plugin may assist a little bit. One of the benefits I've found is having a workspace away from your home. So I actually have to walk across the patio, even like that, like you're going to work in the morning, that mental space helps me.
Yeah.
Giving yourself the commute, as it were, whatever your version of commute is, something that Hazel Quimpo shared when I worked at the events calendar, was that she took a walk around the block to make herself have a commute to the office, which happened to be where she started her walk, but beside the point.
My dad used to change his shoes. He wore smart shoes because he worked from home, and that was all it took.
I have a bag that I take just across the patio.
Okay,
so I have
so it's like a full.
Seriously, I have a work bag that I take to work, and it fools my brain into thinking I'm doing a day of work. I'm a child. It works.
The added impact, though, of the shoes was that everybody in the family knew that he was at work as well, because you could just look at the shoes, and so it was like, okay, he's kind of off limits for being.
It's the same with me. I get my bag, I come in my work. Space, and I'm not going to be interested in my workspace.
Interesting. Roger Williams. I don't know that we've had Roger before, but nice to see you, Roger. And he's CF7, contact form 7. And I'm guessing it's that small, but I think that's a
I'm hoping it's go. I'm hoping it's
Roger was also with us at Montclair. I see a whole lot of Montclair attendees, which is delightful. Roger is at Kinsta, and we commiserate and share together ideas around helping our stakeholders get on board with contributing more and more to WordPress. Nice. Talk death.
I'm pretty sure it's a goat anyway. I think that's probably what we're saying. Greatest of all time. Contact form 7 says Cameron included in 99% of theme forest themes, which helps. Interesting too. And nice idea. I guess we're talking about how to adapt to where you work. Gives me some Wapu Gotchi vibes for the points earning system. Oh, maybe, I don't know.
They built a plugin that's like a Tamagotchi, but it's Wapu. That if you log into your WordPress site in the admin dashboard, I haven't installed it yet, but you can, give yourself points basically by taking care of your Wapu, by being adulting, doing the things about getting into the work zone.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. That Tamagotchi, that thing, that was procrastination heaven for me when I was a kid. I could pour hours into that little egg.
I have something on here on my watch that reminds me to have water. So
Oh.
that's my vibe.
Yeah.
It's a little picture that I have to drink.
I'm the same. I don't drink anywhere near enough. But okay, we're kind of running out of time, but there's a few things to, in fact, we have run out of time. Do we need to end? Does anybody mind if we go on for a couple more minutes?
I'm
You're
good.
all- You're all good?
Good.
Okay, we'll go on for a few more minutes, but we will keep it tight. I'm going to put into the show notes just a couple of articles, but we won't dwell on them. This was one, it's a Max Tegmark article. He's an MIT scientist, all about AI and how it's going to be the end of us all and we need to be mindful. However, this one is kind of an interesting one. This falls under my intuition of sustainability, not to do with WordPress, but just our fascination by doing all the things now with an AI bot or, going to ChatGPT and all of that. And my understanding is that the CPU cycles necessary to get an AI to give something back is a lot. It's way more than like a Google search or something. And so we're kind of blindly walking into a tech dystopia where the thing that we love about the internet is also consuming so much electricity, which, I think, unless you really are a different person to me, we can all accept that global warming is a thing. And so this article was all about that. And I think, Taco, you wanted to bring up something about this. Was it you or was it some?
I think Courtney.
Courtney, apologies. Was it you, Courtney? No.
No, I know that in the early days of AI rolling out, I saw both Taco and Yoast sharing about the AI fallout with the environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we missed you. Sorry.
Go
I
on,
just-
Tammy. Tell us all what things.
Just before Tammy says that, I'll just raise this one statistic just quickly. It says in 2018, one video on YouTube, which had 5 billion views, used up the same amount of electricity than it would heat 40,000 US homes. That's actually mental.
Yeah, but that's
40,000
40,000 US homes in Texas
Yeah.
in summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry,
I think
Tammy.
No,
That's
just kidding. Just
no,
kidding.
no. I think that's also the point. It's about having some balance, about taking all this information. It's easy to go like either direction, binary, but thinking like adoption of anything isn't going to have an impact. It's like whatever you use is going to take away from another resource, and trying to be cautious about it is the kind of interesting thing with these articles, and trying to understand that. Something that's been very real to me, I live in the middle of countryside, and something that's very real to me is you cannot ignore that seasons have changed. You cannot ignore that northern lights happening like 3 or 4 times in the space of a week in Europe. That's a little bit different and unexpected. All these kind of things are happening. But we have to be aware of the balance of like, what do we gain in other areas with AI that is helping us? So a good example is the processing for cancer data. And yes, so things like that it's been able to do, so that then we gain in other areas. So it's that thing you can be like, it's not gaining some, and then it's very easy to kind of have those balances. And my natural instinct is try and reduce our output as much as possible, be green everywhere we can, but it's being holistically green. I think that's the best way to think about it. So thinking about where does the meter come in? And that's like the best thing that I can say about things like this is don't think, oh, AI is therefore bad and horrible. It's where can it be saving us as much as possible? But that reaction you said is exactly when you see how fast it can process and the lives it can actually save.
Yeah, it's mental.
Yeah.
The whole cancer research and identifying tumors and things, and it can do things in a heartbeat that a surgeon can't do. Even if he spends a week or 2 weeks looking at the same diagrams, that person just cannot do it. But I think we're in the toy. AI is a toy at the minute.
But it's just workflows at the moment. It's done workflows.
No. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. I said what I wanted to say, but I said it in the wrong way. What I mean is there are so many toy applications that are just like so much fun. Like I will write songs on an AI and it's just totally disposable. I'll listen to it once and I'll bin it, and I've just wasted a load of energy. And it's a bit like going into the supermarket, but buying something with horrible packaging on it, plastic everywhere, as opposed to saying, gee, I'm not going to buy that one. I'm just going to steer clear of
It's
it.
like the 80s where all the toys were made out of plastic, and
Right.
then we went, maybe all that plastic was killing everybody, and and like all the additives and everything was super bad, and maybe we should have been using it for the right things. And turns out toys weren't the problem because play is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing.
But it's the addiction to the silly little things which are coming along. And,
That's
you know,
humans.
the
We're
binge
addicted to
watching
silly
of,
things.
binge watching of YouTube and all those kind of things. It'd be kind of nice if a browser had something built in which gave me an intuition as to, Mr. Wrigley, today you have burned through 3 trees, or you produced, I don't know.
Can get extensions that
Yeah.
remind you that you're being horrific.
Okay. Yeah, he said running a live show on the internet.
Well, but we're not AI generated, so that saves a lot of
I mean,
energy.
are we?
Are we in the Matrix?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Oh dear. Oh
Time for
no.
another slide.
No, I'm going to think about this all night long.
Where I go?
Right. Oh, love it.
Or I
Yeah,
think of it a
well-
lot of times like, are we at least offsetting? In America, we have an electric provider choice, and I recently switched that the electric that my home uses is sourced from a provider that offsets the amount via sustainable methods such as solar energy.
Yep. Interesting. Okay, so anyway, AI consumes lots of power. We can all be cognizant of that now. Right. Okay. A few more things which I won't put up, so I'll just skip straight to this. So if there's time for this, we'll do it. Google. Whoa. This is big. I think big, especially if you're taco and working in tacos industry. But I confess I know nothing about this story apart from the basic facts. So Taco, just run us through what's gone on, and I'll show the articles as you mentioned them.
Yeah, so really briefly, Mike King, who you're currently showing on screen, and Rent Fishkin are 2 people who are in SEO or used to be in SEO. They published articles on a bit of internal documentation from Google that leaked. And to be exact, it's the documentation for part of their warehouse. So I keep forgetting the full name, but it's a specific part on how Google's storing some of its data that is leaked. And that gives the internal documentation. So there's a lot of, not Mike King, but Mike King indeed, Michelle.
Honestly, that's what I heard as well, but I didn't say.
Yeah, no, our king, Dutch king, is into water management. It's completely different. And he's a pilot. No, but so Mike and Rand have been publishing this, and the full effects we'll have to see in the coming months. But so far, Aleida Solis, who's quite a famous SEO, has been gathering a document where all the articles published on this Google leak are linked. And I think I shared the link with you as well, Nathan.
We've got this one from Spark Toro. That'll be
yeah,
Ren Fishkin's piece, yeah.
Ren Fishkin. Yeah.
And then also this, which is
Yes. Yeah. So
a Google sheet.
if you Google shit, I mean, it's public anyway because they make things public now.
Yeah.
But no, Aleida is curating a list of all the articles that have been written around this topic, and various opinions differ. But in really short summary is that the data warehouse leaked, and not the entire algorithm on how you're ranking, but that data warehouse, the documentation on the data warehouse does give some insights into factors that are used or potentially used in how websites rank. And what's super interesting is that some of the findings in that data suggest that Googlers in the past may have adapted the truth in some of their answers about ranking factors and what matters for ranking. Um,
Oh,
Maybe conveniently left out bits. So there's a lot to digest. We're talking 14,000 attributes that have been leaked. So there's a lot of data, and there will be a lot of analysis happening in the next couple of months.
luckily,
Um,
we've got Courtney. She'll be,
I focus on .org.
yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely keep an eye on this list because Aleida will do an amazing job in keeping all the relevant articles in one overview.
So this is kind of like a fairly breaking story, but you think this is a story that's going to keep going for a little while as people
Yeah.
make sense of the data and
Yep.
Oh gosh, it really will be interesting because, that is their secret sauce, isn't it? That bit of nothing comes out of Google about this. This is their golden goose.
Well,
And
yes and no. So it's
yes and no.
it's
Okay.
not the algorithm that defines the exact ranking. So it's not like we now know exactly what we have to do in order to rank first, but it's combined with the Department of Justice information that was released in all the court hearings a while ago. Combined with this gives a little bit more insight on where we should be focusing.
Okay. So we can be a little bit more sanguine. It's not the end of the world for Google. We're not going to be seeing them
Absolutely not. No,
toppling.
no,
Yeah.
that's their AI overview.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so that's a really interesting story, and I'm sure that we'll come back to it. But possibly of more interest, really, is Taco swimming in Amsterdam. Honestly, so what are you doing? You're swimming? Is it a fundraiser? What's
Yes,
going on?
it is. It is.
Nice.
So this is shameless self-promotion.
Go on.
Actually, our general manager here at Joost, Kimberly Cole, convinced me to join because this is a swim to raise money for ALS research. And ALS is a degenerative neuro disease. Jesus, hard words in English.
Yes. Sorry.
But so every year there's a city swim where people swim just over 2 kilometers in the Amsterdam canals, also known as Heineken beer, and
Yeah.
to raise money for charity. So I decided to take the plunge and do open water swimming as well this year.
Take the plunge. What a profound. That was great. Perfect use. That phrase. Okay, so you can find it if you want to sponsor Taco. There's a donate button here. I won't press it just now, but I will put
no
the
problem.
I will put the link into the show notes, but it is amsterdamcityswim.nl/fundraisers/taco-the Don Shot, and we will I will put that into the show notes so you can go and click that button and look, do a
Much
good thing.
appreciated.
Yeah, thank you. And last but by no means least, shameless plug for Tammy. Here it is. What's this? I did mention this a couple of weeks ago, and Tim Nash was on, and I think he did a better job describing it than I did. But this is what?
Yeah, so this came about because I had a portfolio site and someone said to me, so yeah, what do you do? And I have always tried to explain what I've been doing for people all along. And this is me kind of politicizing myself. So what I'm doing is offering plans specifically, supporting people across their whole journey. WordPress has changed, and that's the reality. And something I've been working with people is, and it ranges from training to going in, maybe training on the up and coming changes, or I've also worked in collaboration. I've also just worked on guiding through different changes. What I'm just doing is showing that you can, I'm kind of up for working with different people, specifically around products, but I've also worked with agencies as well. And it's just summarizing what I've been doing recently and giving an opportunity to collaborate with me.
So you're flexible. It's not like one size fits all. There's only one way that Tammy does stuff.
No, that's really what the guide, trainer, and collaborator comes down to, and the form. So what I'm trying to do is explain what I've done in the past, and there's a section a little bit down where I've just done some of the things that I've done before for people. Scroll down. Yeah.
Keep going, keep going,
Scroll
keep
down.
going. There we
There
go.
you go. Past
Brilliant.
plans.
Got it.
So the idea, what I do is I just talk to someone, find out what they want, and we come up with a plan. And then from that plan, we execute it. I am such a believer in roadmaps. I even come up with a plan with the person, and then we execute the plan with them.
Nice. So if you're interested, you've heard Tammy on the show before. You know, she's got a real heritage in WordPress space, and you're interested in taking her up on that kind offer. Pressnavigator.com is this site. Pressnavigator.com, and whilst you're there, go and sponsor Taco. You know, for jumping in the sea. At enormous danger to himself, I'm sure. Don't swallow too much of that. Okay, that's it. That's what we've got time for. Have I missed anything? I think we got through it all in the end. I'm really sorry. It's gone on a lot longer than it usually does. I do apologize. I have no doubt ruined
I
everybody's
still want to
day.
know if Taco needs shots for that
Yeah.
swim, because I
Yeah.
bet he does.
Well, he's Taco Verdon shot.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, I know it's cringeworthy, Tammy, but this is the level I've stooped to since I became a father. Your humor level just falls off a cliff, but I think it's hilarious. My kids just... Anyway, there we go. That's all we've got time for. I would like to thank all of you for commenting. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I'd like to thank all of these people over here for being on the show and being brilliant. I thought that was a really interesting episode, actually. There was a lot of nice stuff going on in there. And we're going to call it a day. Knock it on the head, but we'll be back. Not next week, because we'll be together in Torino. So I will see you three in the near future. But the rest of you will see you in a fortnight's time, a couple of weeks. Take it easy. Oh, the hounds. I forgot this last week as well. Last time, can we do me the hounds? Yeah, look at that. In the hands. Thank you so much. Take it easy. Bye-bye for now.